Hey everyone, Jason here, aspiring entrepreneur, and today we are going to definitively answer the question, how many hours a day should you be working? And so this video is going to take a look at some studies and some basic biology, and then of course answer the question, how many hours a day should you be working? And this video was inspired by the fact that I completely burned out last month, and so this is part of a larger productivity series just documenting everything you need to know about how many hours a day, a week you should be working, and of course how to get more out of that time. So if you're new, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and check out the playlist link in the description to more productivity videos. And when you stick around to the end, I'm going to share with you the sprinting technique that allows you to actually squeeze just a little bit more of productivity out of yourself and your weeks for that extra kick when you need it. So to summarize, number one, productivity is not directly correlated to work hours. The 40-hour work week, which we're most familiar with, came out of hundreds of studies conducted in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and it was accepted as beneficial by the 1960s. So in addition to unions really pushing this, it was actually corporations figured out, hey, we actually have a lot less mistakes and we have a lot less legal liability when we just have our workers work 40 hours a week. And so if you're familiar with Henry Ford from Ford Motor Company, he's the one who kind of pioneered this thing, and all these studies backed him up. And so all of the corporations at the time were on board like, hey, okay, 40 hours a week and we get the maximum productivity out of people. Plus, the studies apply to knowledge workers as well, aka people sitting at their desks all day long like most of us do, in addition to the factory workers that most of these studies were conducted on. Another study found that a 50% increase in office hours would only result in a 25 to 30% increase in output in the 9th hour. So that means we're at hour 8 and you go into hour 9, that hour of work is the equivalent of 15 minutes of output in hour 2 or 3 from typical fatigue. I don't know about you, but that's kind of depressing that you work an extra hour and that output is really just the same as 15 minutes in your morning hours. Studies also found total workweek hours played a significant role in the number of hours per day. And finally, multiple studies across multiple industries and multiple decades found that 10 hours of work in many cases was the same as 8 hours of work in terms of output. So taking all that information, we crush it down, and looking at the data, clearly it says that our maximum number of hours we should be working to continue our peak productivity and not burn out is 6 to 8 hours a day, with creative work capped at 4 hours per day. Creative work being things like writing or building something new versus, just working on an assembly line or taking phone calls or making sales calls. Now, after meticulously tracking my own time as a YouTube creator and entrepreneur, I put this number at 7.5. So my personal recommendation is to plan your work week and your work days at 7.5 with a maximum of 6 days per week at that 7.5 mark. Now, you can increase and decrease this based upon a couple of things. Number one is how much creative work you're doing. The more creative work you're doing, the less hours per day and less hours per week you should be working, because you're working this guy up here a lot more. Now, I get it. There are going to be times where, hey, you need to work more than that 7.5 or 8 hours per day. You have a big thing coming up and you just got to hit that goal. And so when those things happen, studies have shown that you can sprint for up to a week doing 60 to 70 hour weeks. But what's really important is that as soon as that week is over, you decrease the amount of time you're working for at least 1 to 2 weeks after that. So it's not like you can go up to 50 or 60 hours a week, that's about 10 or 12 hours a day, and then just go back down to 8 hours the next week. You're still going to hit burnout in most of those studies have found. And so what's really important is you can do that sprint, you can get that extra boost, that extra productivity, but at least have, I would recommend 2 to 3 weeks based on my personal experience. The studies, though, they say 1 to 2 weeks of recovery before you try doing something like that again or going back to your usual number of work hours. So thank you so much for watching. If you got some value out of this video, go ahead and hit that like button and then subscribe, because over on my channel, I'm doing productivity videos like this one, essentially diving into the research and the biology behind how can we maximize the productivity we have as business owners and entrepreneurs in our day. And I'm also documenting the process of building an online business from scratch. So I do a lot lot of marketing videos as well. So if you have any questions about the maximum number of hours you can work in a day or in a week based on the research, you can check out the links in the description, and of course, comment below if you have any of those questions as well. And of course, until the next video, hit that like button, subscribe, and keep building the business you love. Take care.